Ty Simpson balls out in his preseason debut, but what in the heck does it mean for Stetson Bennett?
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Whose house? Rams house. What is going on, Ramley? And welcome back to the Locked On Rams podcast, free and available both on YouTube and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed. You know who the heck he is. He's the people's champ, Travis Rodgers, and I'm Gavin Carlson. Great show for you today, as always. Of course, we'll get some updates on Aaron Donald. There's some new news in that saga. I know Travis is ready to get to that. Keagen Trost, he leaves the preseason game on Saturday with an injury, what we know and what it could mean for that position. But of course, we will start with the Ty Simpson star performance on Saturday against the Chiefs. Before we get to that, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show. It's Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Well, Travis, I know you have been sounding the alarm on this quarterback situation behind Matthew Stafford. And on Saturday in the season opener, the preseason opener against the Chiefs, the Rams have some new developments in that situation, to say the least. Stetson Bennett does not play much, which we talked about coming into the game would tell us something. It would tell us that his job feels relatively safe as the Rams' backup quarterback. Well, maybe that's until Stetson Bennett comes out, Ty Simpson comes out and does what he does, because he did not miss many throws, 21-25, 2 touchdowns, almost 200 yards. Travis, we'll start with just Ty Simpson's performance first. What did you think? Because there's some people who see the average depth of target and they say the guy didn't throw the ball downfield at all. Others say, did you not see this guy roll out and make throws on the money? Where do you stand in this performance?
Well, I like how you said it right at the beginning there, Gavin, and just the sounding of the alarm about the potential problems at the backup quarterback spot. And at least for an afternoon, at least for another week until we see the game against the New Orleans Saints coming up, that whatever we were at before has been muted a little bit. If on a scale of 1 to 5, we were at a 4 before, now we're maybe at a 3. I think that it trended in the right direction. So he was good. He looked capable. He looked competent. He looked confident. He looked like somebody that was being asked to do something that they were capable of doing, which I think, again, is part of Sean McVay's great ability as a head coach. Is he puts people in a position to do what they do well. And he very rarely asks people to do things that is outside of their area of capability. So if that means that we're not going to push the ball down the field with Ty Simpson, then let's not push the ball down the field. If that means roll out the pocket because that's something that he's comfortable doing, then let's do that. So I think all in all, a very, very positive first day. I'm not going to throw a bunch of cold water on it. There are plenty of buckets by my feet that I can, if we want to do it, as far as, like you mentioned, the depth of target, the sophistication of the defense that you're going up against, the quality of players on both sides of the ball. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances. But, and this is a very, very good but, he looked good. He looked fine. He looked capable. It wasn't one of these, and look, we've all done it, whether it's with our favorite football team, whatever it is, that moment where the first time you get a chance to look at something, you go, that looks awful. That's not going to work at all. And, usually that first impression can be pretty revelatory as far as what's coming next. And that first impression for Ty Simpson was pretty darn good. So good on him for coming out there in that first opportunity and looking like somebody that, if you had to play him in an NFL game, you would at least say, okay, cross your fingers and hope it goes pretty well. But we got off to a very good start.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was on the post-game show, the squad show here on Locked On Rams, I was just saying he looked on time and on target, right? And that's really all you can ask, right? When you're doing those play action bootlegs, does the quarterback look hesitant? Does he not know what to do if the first read isn't there? Ty Simpson, the first read, fortunately for him, was there most of the afternoon, like on a couple of those deep crossing routes across the middle to the tight ends. It was exactly what you wanted. It was play action, roll out, look for the tight end. He's open, hit him. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it, and don't miss the throw. He did not do that. If it's play action and the play is a check down to the running back or to the wide receiver across the line of scrimmage instead, he hit that on time. I thought a drive that was interesting was right before the half, and you've got all of 30 seconds to try to make it down the field. And sure, was there no 12-yard, 15-yard throw down the field across the middle? No, there was not. But there was like 4 or 5 consecutive throws to the sideline, mainly to Max Clare, where he's on time, he's on target, he knows what he has to do in a 2-minute drill that's shortened to a 30-second drill, and you get the ball down to the 43-yard line, and in a real, I think you kick a 59-yard field goal, 60-yard field goal, and see what happens, right? So, yeah, he was on time, he was on target. He becomes the first rookie quarterback since Baker Mayfield in 2018 to throw for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns in his preseason debut. And again, 21-25. I mean, you can't really ask for more than that. The guy barely missed a beat. Now, obviously, he got some good help with him. I mean, I thought Max Clare had a really good game. But how about the game we had from the running back, man? He breaking tackles, Dean Connors helping out Ty Simpson, breaking tackles there on that red zone touchdown. It's not like Ty Simpson was throwing the ball 20 yards down the field. He got some help from his teammates, but still, you have to be pleased with what you got from him.
I think that's it. But still is, all of these extenuating circumstances leading up to it, what did it look like? Looked pretty good, and I think that's the best possible outcome that you could have for the situation that he was put in. I like what you said, Gavin, about being on time and on target. Look, it would be great if everybody in the league could throw the ball like Matthew Stafford and throw it through a keyhole 40 yards across the field. That awesome. Very few people can do that. More people are going to have to do what Simpson is going to have to do, which is be on time, be on target, and don't miss when the opportunities are there. And that's what he did. I think that's really the accuracy was good. Not only was the ball delivered where the guy could catch it, it's where he was delivered where he could catch it and continue to run with it, which I think is that next step. Now, all of this very, very positive. But to your point, and I think that it's the best point, is when the first option is there all the time, there's not a lot of things that can go wrong, right? If I'm breaking the huddle and I know that I'm going to throw to the tight end in the flat, okay, and I break and I roll out and it's there and boom, I hit it, awesome. What happens when that guy's not open? What happens when the defense gives you a different look that you think he's going to be open, and then all of a sudden when you start to go, he's not? Now what happens? I think that's the next step with him, is what happens when Sean McVay isn't giving you a perfect look against a vanilla defense. That to me is the next thing. Now, I'm not trying to ruin what was a very positive debut. I'm just saying this was a rudimentary step in let's get in and out of the huddle on time. Let's hit the easy throws that are open. Let's make it accurate, like you said, on time, on target. Let's do that. And he passed that test. Now I think what's more interesting is what happens when you get a little bit of a defense that's actually trying to confuse you a little bit, trying to show you one thing and then give you another. I think that's the next evolution of Ty Simpson, but the first test he passed with flying colors. Good on him.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, a couple of the incompletions were not true incompletions. I mean, there was the 3rd and 2 early in his debut where you're kind of inside your own 20. There's a bad snap. It tips off his hand. He has to tip it up in the air and grab it. I don't know about you. In the moment, I'm like, oh, no, here comes that embarrassing moment that's going to be all over Twitter. He's going to tip the ball up. He's going to throw it in the middle of the field for an interception. He throws it away, right? I was bummed because those are the type of plays where you learn about a quarterback. It's 3rd and 2, and you can't just hit the first read. Obviously, Sean McVay is trying to put some trust in him, throwing the ball on 3rd and 2 instead of running it. It would have been interesting to see him look first progression, not be there, go to the second, see if he can get the first down. But good on him to avoid a turnover. Kind of like you said, Travis, coming in with Stetson Bennett, you want to see both guys avoid turnovers. And after the break, we'll get to Stetson Bennett's performance. But still, I mean, overall, Ty Simpson, you can't really ask for much more. Is there anything different you would want to see in the next preseason game, or if he gives you the exact same thing? Like you said, maybe seeing a couple, other progressions would be nice, but you can't really top this from a performance standpoint.
No, I think you're right. I want to go back to that play that you mentioned because I think it was a really good example of this is the oldest cliche in football. Every drive that ends with a kick is a good drive, whether that's a kickoff, a field goal, or a punt. That's a successful drive. Just don't hand the ball to the other team in your own end. And once that play started having, you're exactly right. I'm like, oh, here it is. Okay, here's the one that everybody's going to be talking about. This is the guy that was picked 13th overall. This guy right here. And he didn't. He did exactly what you would like him to do, which is just, okay, get the ball back in your hands, fire it out of bounds. Let's get the heck off the field and live to play another series later in the game. So good on him. As far as what you'd like to see next, more of this. Like let's see if New Orleans can't give him a slightly bit of a different look. Maybe have Sean McVay put him in some situations that we did not see against Kansas City that we might see against New Orleans, but continue to develop that. It's going to, we've seen it before where guys show up, looks pretty good. Week 2, it's like, we regressed a little bit here. So I'm optimistic that they'll figure most of this out. I think that coming into the game on Saturday, you and I have talked about this a lot. I was very skeptical about what this might look like. And it looked, honestly, like you said, as good as you could reasonably hope for, considering the stakes, considering the opponent, considering the schematics of the whole thing. If you said, what is a perfect day? Kind of something like this. Ball doesn't hit the ground very much. He doesn't throw it to the wrong team. He keeps the team moving. He shows a little bit of athleticism. Like, it was a very, very good debut for Ty Simpson, and more of this against New Orleans, I think, both in the joint workout and in the exhibition game.
Absolutely. Sean McVay added, he said that's the biggest thing is keeping the ball in play, like you're saying, Travis. And that's what he was happy with. He took what the defense gave him. Yep. I thought he read the plays out, read with his feet. I thought he did a really good job overall. But he did talk about there being some learning moments, a couple situations where you would like to see him do things slightly different. And that's the thing with Ty Simpson. We know that however you feel about the draft pick, he's in the best situation possible with Sean McVay backing up Matthew Stafford. He's going to lead him every single moment and make it a learning lesson for him. But overall, great performance, exactly what you want to see from the rookie. And when we come back, up next, we'll talk about what it could mean for this backup quarterback battle. Stetson Bennett, limited action. We'll give our thoughts on his performance, plus more from the preseason and an Aaron Donald update. That's up next on Locked On Rams. Today's show brought to you once again by Gametime. Look, there are more live events than ever worth seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprising fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Gametime. The Gametime app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive savings opportunities that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. I always love the fact that I can be on my way to the event, whether it's the concert, the game, or whatever, and I don't have my ticket, and I'm not concerned. It's actually all a part of the plan because I know the best prices are going to be there right before the event. And with features like the seat views feature, which helps you out, you can get your seats in literally seconds and feel great about it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Let's keep it rolling on Locked On Rams podcast, all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will have our full winners and losers from this preseason, Travis, like everyone always does. We'll get to that later in the week. But, of course, the headline, Ty Simpson, 21 of 25, almost 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, led a couple impressive drives. The other big takeaway from this game is Stetson Bennett. And it's kind of, in my opinion, a little bit unfair because it's almost what he didn't get the opportunity to do more so than what he did do in his limited opportunity. Obviously, only 4 of 6 for Stetson Bennett, under 50 yards passing. And depending on who you talk to, on Saturday, Stetson Bennett was the worst quarterback in NFL history. He is horrible. He's never been good, and he should never be considered to be a backup quarterback. Other people will say, he just kind of didn't really have much to do. He didn't look the most clean. He's going against the Chiefs defense that's actually playing a few starters and actually playing at least second tier guys and not fourth tier guys like later in the game. But Travis, again, I know you have been on top of this backup quarterback situation. What was your take on Stetson Bennett on Saturday?
It's so hard, Gavin, when you get so few opportunities, right? Like he just wasn't out there a ton to get a really good read on what it is that he was doing. What they asked him to do, it was okay. It wasn't, put it to you this way, that at the end of that game, you felt one way about Ty Simpson and you did not feel the same way about Stetson Bennett. Like the takeaway was not nearly as positive. Now, it wasn't all negative either. It wasn't I would stop short of this is the worst guy in the history of the league and there's no way that he can play here. I don't think it's that far, but I do think it's a fair point to ask, can he legitimately play in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, it feels like you're right on that razor's edge with him all the time. It just feels, and because he's a smaller guy, because he isn't somebody that can make a bunch of things happen off schedule, because he's not just going to sit there and rip it down the field, that feels like the margins are very, very slow, and it feels like those margins are small, I should say, and those margins are even more small when you have to think about the processing that goes along with it to make those decisions. That his ability to fix things with his arm is not like Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford can make a weird decision, but because he can throw the ball the way he can, it still works. And not a lot of guys have that. Bennett is one of the guys that doesn't have it. So I think if you had to play a game tomorrow and it mattered, I still think Bennett might be the better choice just because he's been around a little longer. And I think maybe just the procedural things he might be a little bit better at. But if you get another one of these like we saw on Saturday and this next game coming up, then I think maybe that thing starts to turn back the other way just a little bit. I still don't love the situation that they're in, but both of these guys, I think, acquitted themselves reasonably enough to at least say, all right, let's go look at that again. But I just keep coming back to the same thing, Gavin, which is, were they really seeing anything that was that complicated? And I agree with you. Bennett saw more than Simpson did, but it still wasn't like you would expect to see opening day against San Francisco. So a long way to go. Mostly positive stuff in the right direction, but Bennett's just one. He's just such a strange player to me. He's a weird size. He doesn't look the part. He just like usually like Simpson standing back there. If you just lined guys up and say, that's my quarterback. Okay. If you just line guys up and said, that's he, like, oh boy, he must be really fast, or he must be really, something that is an equalizer. And the equalizer, I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I feel like Ty Simpson is kind of just a slightly more NFL type of player in every aspect, right? He's a little bit taller. He's a little bit bigger. He's got a little bit of a stronger arm. It's kind of like Stetson is, like you said, he's an awkward, like, is Stetson a mobile quarterback? No. But Is he a pocket passer? No. He's not going to sit back there and just tear people apart. He's kind of just a ball player, right, who gets things done. And the funny thing is that's kind of what Ty Simpson's rep was like, he's not a Fernando Mendoza. He's not a big statue behind there. He's not a Brady Manning, but he's not obviously Lamar Jackson or anything near that. He's not even really a Mahomes or a Zach Wilson prospect who had a big arm and is kind of a wild card. He's just kind of this in-between guy. And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing you said there, Travis, was if the Rams played a game tomorrow and Matthew Stafford couldn't play or something, I still would probably lean Stetson. But at the same time, it's because they're the Rams, right? It's because they're so good everywhere else. You don't need your quarterback to carry you to anything. You've got an unbelievable roster. If you were on a team where you kind of needed the quarterback to elevate the team, I don't think Stetson Bennett's ever going to be that guy. You would hope that Ty Simpson, picked where he was, could eventually be that guy. And that's kind of the hope there with Ty Simpson. I saw some people say that Ty Simpson looked kind of Brock Purdy-ish on Saturday. I don't know if that was a fair way to put it, right? He's not ever going to give you that performance where you go, yeah, that guy, that's Patrick Mahomes. But he looked like a guy that, yeah, can he win? Can he score a lot of points if he's put in the right situation, which he is in? Yeah, he can.
Yeah, I think so, and I think like it's just the difference between being a first round pick, whether he should have been a first round pick, we could debate it for a million years, but he was a first round pick, and then you look at a guy like Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant. You look at somebody like Bennett, who's kind of picked in the middle of it, and just the expectations that come around with these different slots in the draft. Like Simpson's going to be held to a different standard than those other guys are, just simply by where he was taken in the draft. Bennett has always been and let's just see what the heck happens if you have him out there. Like, never a really highly regarded prospect because he's, like you said, is he a running quarterback? No. Is he, the big arm prototypical pocket guy? No. So kind of where does he fall? You're just kind of trying to figure it out as you go. It's a weird quarterback room because you have a generational guy in Stafford who's getting older, and then two guys you're like not quite sure what their role is in this league or what their great strengths are. With Bennett, we've just never seen it. With Simpson, he's just getting started. So it's still weird. It's slightly less weird than it was, going into the game on Saturday, but I still don't love the situation they find themselves in, but I like it a little more than I did 48 hours ago.
Yeah, it's funny. It's you like the situation more, even though there's more uncertainty about the situation because
Yes.
now the gap is closed between Ty Simpson and Stetson Bennett. And I think there's a scenario where maybe not in 2 weeks, but by week 5 of the actual regular season, maybe Ty Simpson has passed Stetson Bennett. We'll see if that happens. Now, up next, we'll get to Keagen Trost because, again, that was, in my opinion, the biggest downside from the preseason. What's going on with him? Plus, Aaron Donald officially works out with the Rams again. We'll have updates on that. That's up next on Locked On Rams. Support for today's show comes from Square. Now, behind so many of the local businesses people visit every day is Square, a platform designed to help businesses sell, manage, and grow. Whether it's a neighborhood coffee shop, a packed sports bar on game day, or your favorite restaurant, Square brings payments, banking, and more together in one connected system. It helps business owners spend less time managing technology and more time focusing on their customers. Square isn't just a payment processor, it's a complete business platform built to simplify the day-to-day. From accepting every major payment method to managing inventory and helping businesses across their earnings faster, Square gives owners the tools they need to run their businesses with confidence. I always talk about it here in San Francisco. It's local small business galore, especially those small mom and pop food shops. And you can tell the ones that have Square and don't because the lines, while they're long, they move quicker and it's so easy to tap and pay. So if you're starting a business or running one that deserves better tools, Square helps you sell, manage, and grow without slowing down. Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/lockedonnfl. That's SQUARE.com/GO/lockedonnfl. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. Let's keep it rolling. Locked On Rams, all a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We've done all this Ty Simpson, Stetson Bennett talk, Travis. I didn't even mention, oh, yeah, by the way, the Rams did beat the Chiefs 20-12 on Saturday. It's always great, right? It's always nice to pick up a win in your preseason opener. I thought the Rams as a whole played they played certainly a cleaner game than the Chiefs, right? When you talk about the penalty discrepancy, when you talk about not having any turnovers, not having any sacks, the Chiefs had all of that, right? They had, or I guess they did have an interception that was called back, but it was very close to being an interception. They did get sacked a couple times, Garrett Nussmeier. They got outgained. Their penalties, brutal for the Chiefs. So, Travis, from a team perspective, before we jump into Keagen Trost and the negative, I thought it was a positive overall in that the team outplayed the Chiefs.
Here it is, segment 3, like the the comparison. Like the Dodgers, I think one of the things that they have really kind of hung their hats on for the last 10 years, so they do all the little things well. They don't make a bunch of big mistakes. They don't do things that give you an opportunity to beat them. You have to go beat them. They're not going to hand it to you. And by the way, they haven't done that for about a month. They've been terrible, but that's another issue altogether. The Rams are very similar. The Rams don't do a lot of dumb things that give the other team a chance to have short fields, to, procedural penalties, turnovers, all of these little things that I think are a direct reflection of the head coach, a direct reflection of how you practice, a direct reflection on the culture that you bring. Like, let's go in there. Can you make a bad play? Sure. Can somebody fumble? Yeah, it happens, but it's usually not a series of dumb things that line up to give the other team an opportunity to go score some points. And I think that even in a preseason game, and the results of these things we know are, what's more meaningless than meaningless? I don't know. But what isn't meaningless is their ability to get in and out of the huddle, to get on and off the field, to follow the rules of the team. And I'm not talking about getting in bed at the right time. I'm talking about the easy things in your coverages. Like, what are your rules? Do you follow them? Do you do what you're supposed to do so your teammate can do what he's supposed to do and everything runs the way that's supposed to run? They're very, very good at the procedural stuff of it. That's a Sean McVay thing. That's why when occasionally, and again, happens to everybody, but occasionally when you see them play really lousy, you're like, this just looks weird, man. The Sean McVay's teams don't play like this, and they didn't do it on Saturday. They looked like they were ready to play a game. I get it. It was a vanilla game plan. I get it. It's a preseason. But you know what they look like? They look like a Sean McVay football team that was in there and doing all the things you're supposed to do, making life hard on your opponent, making life easier for your own guys. And that's what it looked like to me. Very, very positive.
Yeah. And again, this is a team that does not go very hard, during training camp. So for them to instantly look like a Sean McVay team, that is impressive. That's exactly what you want to see. Now, what you don't want to see is injuries, of course, for any team, for any player, but especially for Keagen Trost, the rookie, the third-round pick, who's going to, whether you like it or not, play a big role, or at least be in position to play a big role this season. We know all the uncertainty surrounding Alric Jackson. I'm waiting for us to get some sort of update regarding a suspension for him, because it feels like any day now you could find out that your starting left tackle is out for a third of the season, or maybe even half the season. It'd be nice to learn that sooner rather than later. But nonetheless, Keagen Trost gets the start here at right tackle. And like you said, Travis, this is Mr. Tapas here. You want to see him play a couple positions, get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he starts at right tackle. Who knows? Maybe he would have moved to left tackle at halftime with Stetson Bennett, or with Ty Simpson, or maybe he would have moved to guard. Well, instead, we don't get to see it, because in the first quarter, he leaves this game with a hamstring injury and is immediately, and I mean immediately, ruled out by the Rams. We haven't gotten really any update since about if this is, hey, the Rams being precautionary like they always do, or, hey, no, this is a hamstring injury that's going to keep you out for a couple weeks. No updates yet. We'll have those for you the second we get them. But Travis, it's a concern with all the uncertainty at a position as important as offensive tackle, that you're already kind of risky backup in terms of a rookie. Even he's down now.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Gavin. I think that this is a position that was probably near the top of your list on things that you didn't have a ton of great backup plans for. And now all of a sudden you have even fewer backup plans for that. To your point, Alaric Jackson is exceptionally likely to get suspended, and probably for a period of time beyond just a game or two. So they're already into their depth. Now all of a sudden you've got the one guy who can kind of cover a handful of different spots on your offensive line, not only goes down with an injury, but he goes down with an injury that, and I'd love to be wrong here. Like you just said, we don't know, but we've seen, whether you cover the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, hamstring injuries are awful. They just never really seem to go completely away. And you'll see a guy back out on the field, but you'll always say, yeah, that hamstring's still bothering him. It's like you almost need to go through an entire off season before that thing fully heals, where we're just coming out of the off season. So I think this is a big deal. You really couldn't even evaluate what you saw because it happened relatively early in the game. So it's a tough blow. This is why, it was a double-edged sword. You want to play him because you want to see what you have, but you also don't want to play him because you don't want to get him hurt. But it's football. Guys play. Guys get hurt. There really is no perfect combination for this stuff. But in a position where they did not have a lot of options, now they have one fewer potentially. And and again, you didn't even know if that was a great option to begin with. You were hopeful. You were optimistic, but you still don't know what his ability level is relative to the NFL. And now you're probably going to have to wait even longer.
Yeah, and so we'll see if the Rams make any sort of moves, if they have to go acquire another offensive tackle or anything like that to add some depth. Obviously, David Quessenberry is the immediate backup left tackle to Alec Jackson. But guess what he becomes? He becomes the immediate starter when, not if, when Alec Jackson's handed a suspension. And then from there, it's looking quite thin. So we'll see what happens there. Now, one position group that's not thin, defensive line. And before we wrap up today's show, Travis, the Aaron Donald saga that I know you love every little nitpicking bit of, and I know you don't want this to be done. You want this to keep going the way it has. Well, it takes another turn as Aaron Donald officially works out with the Rams again yesterday. Sean McVay on Saturday was, coming out and saying, hey, we don't want to set any what he called invisible deadline for a return. We're going to give him all the time he needs. Well, Aaron Donald has his second official practice with the Rams yesterday. Does it mean anything, Travis? Or are you going to give me an answer that I would expect?
I think I'm going to give you an answer that you would expect. Look, it means something. It means we're getting a little bit closer to the official return of this. And then I'm not, look, take as much time as you need. Figure out exactly what needs to get figured out. I don't know if that is his body. I don't know if that's his home life. I don't know if that's contractual. I don't know what the final hurdle is for him to finally come back and just say, yeah, I'm a football player again. Let's go. Let's practice. Let's see 99 out there. Let's see him, blowing up joint workouts because nobody can block him. Like, let's just get to it because he's clearly coming back to play. You don't do all of this at the last minute and say, oh, no, I'm out of here. So he's coming back. So let's just rip off the Band-Aid and put him out there. And maybe there are some logistic reasons. Maybe there are some contractual reasons just to say, let's wait until the last moment. But I'd like to see him, get a week or two of practice in there just to kind of get a feel for where he is in his return to the game. But yeah, this is good news. I'm on the 1 yard line, ready to put my hands in the air for a touchdown. Let's get this thing over with.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're at the 1 yard line, like you said, because last week it was, he's going to announce at the beginning of the week, or maybe it'll be the end of the week, right before the preseason game. We were in here wondering if we would see him on the sideline wearing a Rams hat or something. Now it's like it's another week, and again, and this is not me rushing him in any way. He can take as much time as he needs for my own mental health, for every Rams fan's own mental health. Every time I see Aaron Donald practice again, I don't know about you, Travis, but my mind doesn't immediately go to, oh, he's one step closer. My mind goes to, is he actually like debating this thing still? Like, does he still need more practices to figure out if he's ready? And that's what makes me a little bit nervous. So let's hope we're at the 1 yard line and there's not a false start and you're moving further away from the goal line. I need you to just punch it in. Just what you need to tush push, just punch it in. I don't want to wait any longer. It's starting to make me a little bit nervous, Travis.
It's an interesting way to look at it. I hadn't really thought about that. Here's why. Okay, this might give you some peace of mind, Gavin. If this were something that was still up in the air, something that he was still trying to determine whether or not he wants to, I think that there would be some sort of whispers from somebody, whether that's from McVay or Les Snead or the position coach or team or something. Somebody somewhere would have softened the ground with it. He still hasn't made up his mind. He's still going through the process. And really no one has mentioned, like even McVay, and who is typically, cagey seems like an aggressive word and a negative word, so I don't want to use that, but a little circumspect in how he talks about some of these guys, has basically said, look, he's coming back. It's just a matter of when he finally decides to pull the trigger. So I think it's still happening, but now that you say it, now that's all I'm going to be thinking about, Gavin, is that maybe somehow, some way he's not going to do it. And now you've got me a little nervous.
Don't let me change your mind, Travis. You've been set on this for 3 weeks, a month, that he's coming back and he's just making it interesting. Please stay with that. I'll trust me. I want to think like you. I'm always just scared, but I won't be scared. I believe you. We're at the 1 yard line. They just want to find a fancy way to punch it in. They could just tush push it, but Sean McVay, he's not tush push. He wants to do a Philly special, exactly, to make it interesting, and that's what's going to happen. Well, Ramley will have you posted on anything related to Aaron Donald, Keagen Trost. Tomorrow, we'll have winners and losers from the preseason. We'll jump into some of those performances that stood out and what it could mean. Obviously, joint practice with the Saints coming up and that preseason game against the Saints on Saturday as well. But for now, Thank you, as always, Ramley, for making Locked On Rams your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. Training camp is done. The preseason is here. Moves are still being made. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. For the people's champ, Travis Rodgers, who is more right about Aaron Donald than myself. Let's all hope. We know he is. For Travis, I'm Gavin Carlson. This was Locked On Rams. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Whose house? Rams house. Take care, Ramley. We'll see you tomorrow. Aaron Donald, make that decision soon.